What's up, YouTube? Georgia Silver Hunter back, and we've got another little mixed coin roll hunt coming your way. We've got $210 in quarters. We've got $50 in dimes. We have $22 in nickels and $6.50 in pennies. If I did my math right, that's $288.50 worth of change we're going to get through. Obviously, we have a couple of bank wrapped rolls or 10 bank wrapped rolls of quarters. Everything else was wrapped by somebody out in the community. Hopefully they didn't know what they were doing and wrapped up some really good stuff for us to find. So with that, we're going to go ahead and jump into it. I will start with the dimes because those will go the fastest, and we'll be basically hunting those for silver. And before each denomination, I'll take a break and tell you what we're looking for before we jump into it. So can't wait to get into these rolls. Let's get to it. All right, well, let's go ahead. We got 10 rolls of dimes to get through, and we will be looking for anything 1964 and older, and that will be really easy to find in these dimes because we will have a nice, solid silver edge, and not anything that's got a coppery or orange edge on it. It's really easy to see those silver dimes. They will pop out at you, and if you spread them out like this, if you happen to have a proof, that too will jump out. The super shiny ones are probably going to be 21s or higher. I see some 2019s, 2021s. So don't care too much about those. Now, I would like to see some of the new dime designs, but they don't seem to have hit Atlanta, or at least not my banks yet. So I do look forward to the day that those start cropping up because I would just love to get some and look through them for errors. So again, just clad, lots of copper edge, no solid silver edge. There's a 2025 Philadelphia. It's one of the more recent minted dimes. Come on. There we go. Now, our bank wrap dimes that we did the other day did not do too well for us, so that's why I was trying to switch over and do some customer wrapped, because we do happen to do pretty well with those, or at least better than the bank wrapped. Find some silver in those customer wrap from time to time. I do have a document and description down below this video that does have, if you really want to coin roll hunt dimes, it does have the handful of things that you can look for. And I've also got in the description down below a link to the Strike It Rich with Pocket Change book. That too will give you nice pictures and things you can look for in dimes. I just, they're not super valuable errors that I'm aware of. And dimes just take an awful lot of time to look at. And to me, they're slightly harder to look at than pennies. And there's just not as much to look for. So I mainly stick to the silver. This too. No silver there. And nothing here. We do have a couple that kind of look gray, but I can see that copper edge on it. So the silver ones will jump right out at you if you've never looked at dime edges before. You can get fooled a little bit because we do happen to find a lot of Canadian dimes in the US, and those Canadian dimes will read very silver as well, but they're a little bit thinner. The reading's a little bit off as well, and a magnet can pull them out of a roll. So you can also pre-check your dime rolls for Canadian dimes if you like, just using a handy dandy magnet. Okay, we got 4 rolls left. I think I'm going to jump into the pennies next. Get our small coins out of the way, and then we'll move on to our nickels and then our quarters. But so far, these dimes have not looked too great. Here's roll number 9. 1965. That edge looked a little weird to me, but off by 1 year on the silver. Now, in your half dollars, 1965 to 1970 are 40% silver, and that is the only denomination that works that way. For your quarters and your dimes, it's got to be 64 and earlier, and they only did them in 90%. So no need to hunt out those 65s through 70s in the dimes. And that's going to do it. I do not see any silver in this batch, so I'll go ahead and get these rewrapped, and we'll go ahead and head on over to the pennies. Okay, well, let's start with a little bit of education here. One thing that's really nice, especially if you have customer wrapped rolls, is if you happen to see some enders and you can already see pennies that are down in the 60s, you know that you're going to have some copper in there. So I've got a 1960 something in here. I can't quite read the other date or the edge of that date. The other thing I like to do with customer wrapped is throw them on the scale and see what we get. A wrap of zinc pennies should weigh about 125.9 to 126.2 or 3 grams. Anything over that, you know you're either going to have extra pennies or you're going to have some copper. And in our case, we know we're going to have some copper. And I did already grab a couple of these just to check. So there's 128.9. There's 131.7. Here's 129. So we know we've got a little bit of copper in every single roll. The other thing we need to do is make sure that we have some kind of search list. And again, in the document in the description down below, I have this neat little table that I put together. And I also like to use my Strike It Rich with Pocket Change book that I have over here. My Amazon link for this is in the description down below. And I really do like this book because it has all the years you're looking for along with the pictures and examples of what you might see under the scope when you look at those specific pennies. And it does everything from pennies all the way up through half dollars, and even the Sacagaweas, I think, or the dollar varieties are in the back as well. So this is a fantastic resource if you don't already have it. I get asked all the time about where I got this spiral bound. You cannot buy it this way. If you take it to any UPS store, when I did it, it was like $8 or $9. They usually take a day or two to do it, but they basically cut the spine off and they will spiral bind it for you. So I can tell you this book is much easier to use in the spiral bound form than it is with the regular spine. So enough of that. Let's go ahead and get this roll that had that 1960 something in there. We'll open this one on camera and I'll zoom in a little bit. Let's see how much copper we can find in here. Now, our copper is going to be 1982 and earlier. I will be looking for all sorts of mint varieties and errors. I'll be very honest with you, I don't find that many throughout the course of hunting pennies and all my years, and my most valuable one was I got an MS65 transitional reverse 1988 that was worth several $100s, if I recall. But we got a 1968 right there, copper right behind it, 1979. And I'm just going to go really quickly like this through it. Now, a lot of the copper I can just kind of spot by eye. If you've never hunted pennies before, it does take a little while to get used to it. But there's a 1969. That's probably going to be zinc, just judging from the way it feels. Also zinc. So 1975, more copper. We got a beautiful 1978. It's got a little bit of wear on it, but that's called red. If you happen to find copper that's this color, this is red. There's 3 grades. There's red brown, and there's brown. We do have a bit of gunk on there, but I usually keep those nicer looking ones separate and roll them separately. People do ask why I hang on to all my copper. Well, now, let's be honest, they don't make the penny anymore, so anytime I find it, it just makes sense for me to cull it, because I don't know what they're going to do with it if I take it back to the bank. And 2, copper's up to over $6 a pound. So it's kind of valuable. 3 to 4 cents a penny now, 1974. So let's just call it 3, or let's call it 4 cents a penny to make things easy for us. Right there is 20 cents in copper and 5 pennies. And there's 24 cents right there. So, you're not going to get rich on this. It's not easy to turn it in for that kind of money, but long term, it's something I'm going to hang on to. And I might have another one right here. That's an 83. Okay, well, I'm going to go off camera. I'll keep hunting. I may bring you in periodically for just a copper update, or if I happen to find any varieties or errors, I will go back through and look at every single one of these pennies for some sort of variety on it. I just did that really quick for you here on camera. So hopefully I'll bring you in soon with an update other than just more copper. So I'm getting through roll number 3 and bringing in about 2/3 of the way through. We've got our first wheat penny on the hunt, and we've definitely got some damage on it. But we've got a 1942, no mint mark, and a little bit of damage on the back as well. But it's a wheat penny, so we'll hang on to it. The copper's adding up. We've got 2 kind of nice ones. We've got, I think, 19 regular coppers, and we have come across one of the 2009 formative years commemorative pennies, and I'm also keeping track of all my 2025s and 2025Ds since it was the last year they minted those pennies. So hopefully we'll find a few more wheat pennies along the way. So we're into roll number 4, and I'm just a handful of pennies in. Nothing too special here, but just wanted to bring you in because this is an absolute stunner of a 1961 red penny. I mean, this penny's over 50 years old. Actually, almost 60 years old, 65 years old. Look at this thing. That is a gorgeous red penny in fantastic shape, and something I'll definitely hang on to. Probably going to be an upgrade for my penny album. Well, we are on our last roll of pennies, and just bringing in here, we've got our first foreign on the hunt. So we got one wheatie and one foreign. We've got a 2006 Canadian. Right there with the old head, Queen Elizabeth. We'll put that up here on the board. And we're working on, I don't know, it's like about 75 copper pennies. We might have 1 or 2 more here and there. And I'll come back for a wrap-up of really everything we found and give you a total copper weight and value on those pennies. Well, that's going to wrap it up for the pennies. And real quick to go through them, we did come up with 4 decent-looking 2025s and 5 decent-looking 2025 Denvers. We did get the 1 commemorative penny and 76 copper pennies. So 71 browns, 4 kind of in that red to red brown. We did get 1 copper wheat penny, 1942, that's seen better days. And this absolutely stunning 1961 red cent. I am going to give you the copper value in this, but I'm not going to include this guy because he's a 2006. And I don't believe the 2006 penny actually has any copper in it. I could be wrong, though. I'll have to check that out. But I pulled up coinapps.com. I went to their copper penny calculator. And today, copper's at $6.10 per pound. So at 71 plus 6 is 77 copper pennies. We have $3.06 worth of copper right here. So we'll be hanging on to all that. Of course, the wheat penny will go in with the rest of my 1942 wheat pennies in my rolls. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and clear off the board here and get into these nickels. Okay, well, because we have so few rolls of nickels, I am going to go ahead and dump out probably half of them here and just quickly look for some war nickels or anything that looks old or interesting, like buffalo nickels or V nickels. For those of you that don't know, our war nickels are 1940, what are they, 1942 to 1945, and they are 35% silver. And look at that, it might have been a little off camera there, but right at the end we got a 1977 Canadian nickel in that very first roll. And now I'm second guessing myself on the war nickels dates. Here's my nickel album here, just real quick. You won't be able to see all of it. We are still missing the 38D, the 39D, the 39S, a couple of silver nickels that we just haven't found coin roll hunting, and the 1950D over here. But our war nickels are, 1942. There is a clad version and a silver, and they go all the way up to 1945. Hopefully all that's on camera for you. But that's all I'm missing from my album. And if you are hunting nickels, would love to know how your hunts are going, but I've got those couple 4 or 5 that in 6 years I've never found from coin roll hunting. I have gotten them from either viewers that have sent them to me, or I might have found them like in a coin collection that I bought, but I have never ever pulled one during a coin roll hunt or one of those. There's a 1947 So a 40s era nickel. Looks like we've got a 47 Denver. Very cool. I will go back through those looking for any particular errors or varieties. I also keep an eye out for our Hennig nickels, which are actually faked nickels. They're not real legit nickels. Just saw a couple there at the end that looked interesting. 85, so nothing in there. Because I'm making a mess, it'll be really tough on the second pass to know what was in roll 1, 2, or 3, or 4, or 5, but it's okay. We'll live. A couple of dark edges on there. I don't think those are going to be war nickels or V nickels. Could be ground targets, could just be wear on the nickel. 84. Yeah, that's just toned. Okay, nothing jumping out at me in roll number 3. And I'll rip these. I've got plenty of wraps to put these back in. I do have people that yell at me. They're like, you know, you could reuse those. And the answer is yes, I do know that I could reuse those, but I also have boxes and boxes of new ones. So no sense in me being too particular about it. It's the 64. Nothing old looking there. And I'm actually going to do this one because it looks different. For roll number 5. And I'm going to stop here and clean this up and go through the rest, and I'll bring you in if I happen to find anything of interest. But it has been a good long while since we have found a V nickel on the channel, and actually pretty long ago since we found a buffalo nickel. It's just a 73. All right, just looks like a lot of new nickels to me, so I'll get back through these. I'll bring you in if I find anything interesting. So I'm almost done cleaning up those first 5 rolls. Nothing in here. We got a few more to get through. Here's the little line I'm currently going through, and I did come across the first for the channel, one of the new semi-quincentennial nickels. So the 2026 Denver nickel. First one I have found on the channel, and actually kind of surprised to see it in a customer roll before seeing it in a bank wrapped roll. So very cool. I'll throw it on the board as a find just because I don't have one, and I'll need one for my album, and I'm sure I'll find some nicer ones over the coming months. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get these last 6 rolls open together, and then I'll go back through them like I did with those first couple. You may notice I've got one extra coin up here, along with our Canadian. It's just a 2025 Denver. I did find that in one of the last little bits that I went through. Nothing too important, though. Oh, I had to get that under the scope. It's a 1958, looks like a Denver, so we got another pre-60s nickel we'll hang on to. It was really ugly. I wouldn't be surprised if you guys couldn't see the date. I needed to put it under the scope. All right, well, nothing else in there as far as I could tell. And I might get lucky. There's a couple of really shiny guys in here. We might find some of the semi-quincentennial. I just hate that word. It's so long. Say that 5 times fast. We might find some more of those along the way. And that jumped out at me right there. That edge, 1944 Silver War nickel. We got a D up there above the Monticello building. Very cool. 35% silver. Let me check my book because I know there's a couple of those we still needed. 44D. We're going to fill a hole today. That's very exciting. And again, I have a ton of these. They were just from purchases. So I'm just excited I can fit one back in the book from coin roll hunting. And I'll stick that back in there for those of you that aren't more seasoned coin roll hunters. But if you look right here, you can see that color is just a little bit off. Even the color on that one's a little bit off. But typically when you get almost that gunmetal color, you can guarantee that's going to be silver. So very neat to find that. And let me get these reorganized up here into a line. 2000. I'm really just doing this by color when I do this for you on camera. If it's just kind of that older, they just look different. It's something you get used to. You can just pull them out. And you're not always right, but you're usually pretty close. Yeah, I don't see anything in there. There's a 63. It's kind of the right color. Got some older looking ones back there. '61. No. I don't think we have anything in there. Here's roll number 10. Let me actually push these back a little bit to give myself a little more room. I know I pushed those off camera, but I don't want to mix them up. 71 down here on the bottom. Nope. And the last roll. Now, one of my first nickel videos, or early videos on the channel, I did happen to get bank wrapped nickels, and I ended up with, like, I don't know, 5 rolls of war nickels. That was really, really nice, and probably I found all of my silver war nickels in that hunt, but I hadn't started my album yet, so I didn't pull from those to do my album. I really only started putting in there after I got the album, so there's probably an oldie in there too that I missed, but I'm going to get back through these and I'll bring you in as I find things. Well, we're cleaning up those last 2 rolls of nickels, and we've come across another one of our, well, I can't even say it anymore, is the semi-quincentennial. It's just quite the mouthful. Nickel here, the 1776 to 2026 Denver. That'll make the second one on the hunt, and I'm surprised to be finding these in customer wrapped rolls. Well, that's going to do it for the nickels, and I think I brought you in for all of this, but in the very first roll, we did find a 1977 Canadian nickel, so we had a foreign. I did find a 2025 Philly and Denver, so we got a pair. These aren't worth as much as the 2024s. I think the 2024s were a little bit lower minted, so people were paying a premium for those on eBay. We did come across 2 of the Denver minted semi-quincentennial nickels. We got a 1958D that has seen better days, a 1947D that has seen better days as well. But for me, the find of the nickels is this 1944 Silver War nickel, Denver mint mark. And I've already got my book up here. We needed that 1944 Denver silver alloy for the album. And I'll probably put that in a little bit better later. But on the first page, we just need the 44S, the 39S, and then the 38 and 39 Denvers to complete the full page. So with that, that's going to wrap up our nickels, and we're going to go ahead and move into, I believe it was 20 or 21 rolls of quarters. We're actually going to start with our customer wrapped quarters. I got these at the same bank as the nickels, and maybe we'll get lucky and find some of the newer quincentennial I can't even say the word anymore. The fancy new quarters. That's what I'm going to call them from here on out. The fancy new quarters. Hopefully finding that 4th of July privy. And I just made a mess right there. I did see, as I made a mess, somewhere in there, I think I saw a bicentennial. Anyway, I don't see it now. I think I pushed it too far out of the way, but I saw at least 1 bicentennial in that roll. I do keep those separate, just to keep track of how many we come across in the hunt. And the nicer ones I do hang on to. I'm going to go ahead and open 5 rolls here on camera, looking for some silver. And of course, we got lots of 2023s and 2024s. Really nice, pretty newer quarters. Now, there are tons of die chips to look for. Tons of little errors and die cracks and things like that. Again, I mention this in every video. I have a document in the description down below that has a really good listing of all the things you could look for in quarters. So if you're new to coin roll hunting, that is free for you to download and use. And I will be going back through these quarters one at a time to look for those, and I'll bring you in and show you what we're looking for if I happen to come across one. The other thing we're looking for is our San Francisco business strikes and proof strikes. And of course, silver, 1964 and earlier. We'd love to find it. It's been a good long while since I have found a silver quarter in a roll. I think that was 1, 2, 3, 4, so this will be the 5th roll, and then I'll go back through those and see what I can find and clean them up, and we'll move on to the next 6, and depending on what we find, I may just cut it out of the video. All right, well, nothing there so far. Hopefully, I'll bring you back in soon. Well, those customer rolls were really bad. All we got was a Philadelphia and a Denver bicentennial. So that was 11 rolls down. We're going to go ahead and get into these bank rolls and hopefully do a little bit better. Honestly, you'd almost have to be better. I'm not sure it gets worse. I guess if you went through a whole box and all you found was 2 bicentennials, that would technically be worse. But usually, at least I normally feel like I find more in customer wrapped rolls because just a lot of people don't know what they have. So I'm going to do the same thing we did last time. We'll open up 5 of these bank wrapped rolls. Just check for silver. Anything super shiny or anything jumping out at me that I can check really quickly. Like that was a potential West Point quarter, and I think I left that out of what we'd be looking for at the opening of the quarters, but the 2019 and 2020 W West Point quarters are still pretty valuable. Now, they're nothing compared to the new July 4th Privy quarters that are still going. Not still. I think they're going for like $400, $500, $600 a pop on eBay, at least last time I looked. So finding one of those is a huge windfall. So far, these quarters don't look great. We got one kind of green guy in here, but he's current. That's a current quarter. It's Eleanor Roosevelt, so nothing too special there. There's a die chip on her hat that we can look for. And a die crack through her hat that we can look for. Come on. I know I'm gouging these end quarters, but they'll live. And no silver. So let me get through these and I'll bring you back in. We'll go through the last 5. All right. Well, these quarters have been giant duds, but let's go ahead and get into the last 5 rolls and hope it turns around. We're cleaning these up backwards. So that was the last roll. So this was the next to last roll. And we finally come across at least something a little bit interesting, and it is the little extra cactus error here on the 2008 Philadelphia from Arizona, or that's the Arizona State Quarter. You can see it without putting it under the microscope. I'll put it there just to show it to you. But we have a little hunk of metal there that's not supposed to be there right here. The engraver's initials are right there. J, I believe it's FM. And this little hunk of metal right there is not supposed to be there. So that's a little die chip. We'll put that up on the board as a find. Not worth a whole lot of money. If you can sell them, $1 or $2, maybe $3. If it's more than that or less than that, I'll throw a comp at the end of the video just so you guys can see. But at least we didn't get skunked. We found something. Well, believe it or not, that's it for the quarters, and they just did not deliver today. 21 rolls, nearly half a box, and all we pulled away was a Philadelphia and a Denver bicentennial that will pretty much go back to the bank. I don't know, this Philly looks pretty nice. Maybe we'll hang on to that. We did find that 2025 Philly. It will upgrade one of my 2 women's quarters albums, so we'll go ahead and do that off camera. And we did come away with 1 die chip. Now, I do look for just about everything from the die chips, die cracks, DDOs, DDRs, and quarters. Just weren't finding anything. I wasn't finding anything today, even in the stuff we used to find all the time. The Man Killer die chips, the Eleanor Roosevelt die chips. You know, just all the ones we normally see. I didn't find snow on the roof or leaky bucket or any of those, so it was a little bit crazy. Normally I find a handful of things in every quarter hunt, but this is all we got today. I'm not going to recap everything in the hunt, but my favorite find, of course, was this 1944D 35% war nickel. So excited to have that. And it's just one more nickel off the list of the 4 or 5 or 6 we need left to or need to finish off this nickel album that I've been working on for like 6 years out of nickel hunts. So it is what it is. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, let me know. Drop on down below. Leave me a like and a comment. I'd really, really appreciate it. Hopefully in my next, you know, kind of other denomination coin roll hunt, we can find some of the newer quarters and newer dimes. Obviously, we found a couple of the newer nickels today. Anyway, if you're new to the channel and you like coin roll hunts and you want to catch all my future content, make sure you do click on that subscribe button and then click that little bell and select all so you get notified each and every time I release a new video. I'd really appreciate it. And special shout out to my channel members. Thank you guys for supporting the channel each and every month. I really appreciate it. And with that, I'm going to clean off this mat, and I'm actually going to get started on another $1,000 half-dollar hunt. So I'm looking forward to jumping into those, and hopefully we'll get that posted a little bit after this one.